I didn't even realize we went live.
We are live.
How's it going, man? What kind of week has it been?
It has been an anxiety-filled week.
Oh
Not
yeah,
really. It's been fun. I might have changed my whole workflow. I might not have. I don't know.
yeah. I
Things
know
are things are changing so fast.
we're gonna talk about that. I'm interested in that because, yeah, I definitely it's a path that I need to get more familiar with because I'm still in the babysit everything phase, and I
Hmm.
think I have things I would like to not babysit and just have it do. So yeah, I'm excited about that part.
Yeah, we should talk about that. First, do you want to talk about any news? What stood out to you this week?
The few things that popped out, obviously there was like an Nvidia keynote where a handful of things were discussed. The one that was somewhat interesting, I don't know how interesting was the Nemo Claw, their wrapper around OpenClaw. I mean, it's the thing that everybody has anything to do with AI is going to start building out. But I thought it was interesting that they made such a huge deal out of it. I get it. It's, as we'll see, the path that most likely everybody's going to go down, or it's, I don't know if it's the holy grail or whatever you want to term you want to use, that everybody's like, yeah, I want this thing that just does everything for me, right?
Yeah,
And so it's interesting. I didn't fully grok the Nemo Claw thing. It looks like I couldn't tell if it was something they're hosting or if it's just a wrapper around OpenClaw that they provide that gives it more security controls. But with I don't know. I feel like the more security controls you put around it, the less access it's going to have to the things you actually care about and it doing things on. So yeah, it's a weird problem to solve. But yep, I noticed that being introduced. Um, and didn't hear just but right before the show, I noticed that Claude's just pumping out stuff that's like, oh, OpenCloud does that. Well, I mean, we can do that. I mean, there's dispatch. I don't, have you seen the dispatch stuff in Cowork?
dispatch. Is that where you can remote control it?
Um, so I have to. I don't fully understand yet how different. I think remote control probably is slightly more towards um, Cloud Code, where the dispatch one. I think they're very similar. So with dispatch, I have my Cloud desktop application, right? I
Mm-hmm.
have Cowork, and now I just turned on dispatch, and now on my phone I can be like, hey, I know Cowork's up. I know you're sitting at my desk. I need you to go do X, Y, and Z for me. It
Mm.
has it has access to the context of whatever computer it's running on and all the tools you gave it. So yeah, it's just a way of essentially being able to be remote and either kick something off and see what happened, or kick something off while you are traveling around on your phone. Remote control was the other thing that I saw that came out. I feel like it's dispatch, but more for your Claude Code session.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
because it's essentially the same thing, right? You start a session with the remote control flag on, and then you can access it from the web or the Claude mobile device, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have
Yep.
you used it at all? I have not used this.
I have only to see if it worked.
So yeah, to test it.
Yeah, I'm on a like day to day. I'm on like a enterprise team or whatever,
Yeah,
and
so you'd have, well, some of these things are available, but they have to be turned on.
yeah,
I
the
don't
only
think remote
downside.
control is though, because is the wait, no, you're on the enterprise team now, and you have to be on the team plan. You can't use remote control with the API driven, with the paying via API tokens. That's one thing I remember.
Yeah, right. The main thing though, like, it doesn't suck. Like, I get it. There's no other way, right? Is just um, how do we? Well, I have to be logged into my work Claude on my phone.
Yeah,
And so like there's not an easy like account switcher in the Claude mobile app, which would make that a lot easier because I want to switch between them, you know?
yeah. I I think that's a common theme in a lot of these tools is that, um, I mean, like a lot of companies, it was totally geared towards, this is gonna be for developers that are interested in it, and maybe smaller companies, startups that don't have all the security things that in place that an enterprise company has in place. So
Hmm.
you're just like, yeah, this works because I don't have to worry about all those things. But if you're working at a larger company, then yeah, you have to worry about the fact that you don't have your personal device on every company network or what, et cetera.
Yeah. I imagine that gets trickier at different companies and things like that. But it's cool, and that's not the only feature they shipped this week that directly like feels like it ties into OpenClaw. There was also channels, I think, that was released last night.
Yeah, that was essentially you can hook Discord or Slack or well, you could
Discord or
already hook
Telegram, I think.
Telegram. That was it. Essentially,
Hmm.
hooking more chat apps up to be able to interact with your Claude instance.
Your Claude Code instance
Yeah.
specifically,
Oh, that's right. Okay, so your Claude Code instance.
I
Okay.
think. Yeah. And
I
that's pretty
saw that
cool.
right before, yeah, we started chatting, and I hadn't dug into it. But no,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like they're piecemeal bringing in all the pieces that OpenClaw did because
Yep.
again, OpenClaw is one developer that was like, security be damned. I don't care. I want to see
Yep.
if this works.
And it's a little different. Like it does do the OpenClaw, or I'm sorry, the Claude Code instance that you're in, and it can send messages into that, so you can effectively control it. And that's the way that I use OpenClaw right now, is I interface completely through Discord to it.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I think that paired with some other things that they shipped a few weeks ago, which are the new loop command. So you can do
Yep.
/loop and like give it basically like every 30 minutes you're going to run this or do whatever. And they also have like scheduled tasks that you can do specifically in the Claude desktop app with
Yep.
code in there, and that can like kick off at different times. Honestly, none of that has like grokked with me in any way. Like
Right.
what Claude session do I want to set up a loop that can only at max be doing things for 3 days? But like I just don't have that use case yet, or I haven't thought of it. I don't know if anything has come to mind for you.
Um. So I feel not in the Claude Code realm. Again, I still interact with Claude Code from a very transactional point of view, right? I'm going to go in, and at this moment, I'm going to tell you things I want you to do, and I'm going to watch you do them, and then we're going to be happy when you're done, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I want to get to the next step where you're literally giving a system your harness things to do, and it goes and does things, and it tells you when it needs your input. That's
Hmm.
that's freaking cool. Um, but the only area where I've allowed Claude to essentially do something more along the lines of the OpenClaw stuff is in the Claude Code, or sorry, Claude Desktop Cowork app, where it had the schedule. Every morning it goes and it looks at my email and it tells me what it thinks is trash, what it thinks is important. If it thinks it's important, it creates an OmniFocus task, and then still can't archive my email, which is annoying. But yeah, so it probably can. It doesn't. It can if I tell it to. I'm like, hey, you know how to use the Chrome browser. You've done this. Go do it. But for some reason, it seems like the skill doesn't want to do that whenever it's running in the scheduled piece. So I haven't gone back to mess with it much.
Hmm.
And it's kind of the same thing I've done with OpenClaw. I have not used OpenClaw anywhere near what its capabilities are. I'm like, hey, send me a morning message about what my day looks like. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's just because it depends. It's only as good as the tools underneath it, right? And right now, it's literally trying to fricking write Apple script against that shitty ass Apple Mail app, and it's just like it fails half the time.
Yeah, for sure. It's I don't know. To me, it's still just like a coding agent. Claude is specifically,
Yeah.
and then OpenClaw. Yeah, I'm in the same boat where I have it doing a few things. I had it trying to do like a morning briefing thing, and mine is like in the it's soul.md is like you're gonna be like Homer Simpson,
Yeah.
because my computer's name is Homer, and so that's what I just let it go as, and it like would do the same exact Homer quote over and over every day, and then half the time it just fails for no reason, and I'm like, why did you fail? And it's like, I don't know, let me try again, and it just works. So it's like,
Yeah.
and then yeah, I have it like doing things to like automatically sync GitHub things to OmniFocus and like monitor Twitter a little bit, because I don't want to go on Twitter. But it's like hit or miss. Like I just don't trust that it's actually ever doing anything
Right.
correctly. And so yeah, it's a pain, but I don't know. I haven't like internalized that. But we can use this opportunity. We are live, right? So if you are listening live and have a use case for channels or the loop command or scheduled tasks in Claude Code, tell us what you're doing. And we'll talk about it because I would love to learn more.
Yep. Somebody Shark Jet said something about OpenClaw inside Docker and Kates. That's the piece I don't get. I don't understand the benefit of that because if it's inside Docker Kates, like what does it have access to that you care about? And that's probably just my use case and the way I use computers. Yes, I'm a Mac person, so all these tools are very Mac specific, which is vendor lock in, etc. But I think that's why like a lot of people or like Mac Minis are like hard to get now. I don't know. I didn't really look, but I guess people were going out and buying Mac Minis because it was one a good hardware match to run these open cloud systems. But I
Mm-hmm.
assume that it also has access to the stuff they care about. I don't know. Maybe not.
I mean, that's the thing, right? You can run it inside of on a totally different machine that you go buy, but the second you give it access to your email or to your Twitter or to whatever,
Yeah.
like there's the vulnerability right there, right? It's not, and if you don't give it access, then it's pretty worthless. It can't do anything. So,
Right.
like, how are you going to make it more secure? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna give Claude access to everything, so obviously,
Yeah,
I'm worried about security.
we'll see. But I don't know, John.
Yep.
I don't know that I am going to be using Claude much longer.
I know you said that.
I might be a pie person now, a pied piper, if you will.
So you're gonna have to explain that one to me because this is not an area where I've done a ton of research or hopped into yet.
Yeah, let me bring up my computer, talk about this. Well, first off, before we get into that, there was one other Claude feature that did ship, and this will tie nicely into Pi, but it's this feature that I saw. Ooh. It's you can put a bang inside of your Claude skills,
Mm-hmm.
and then like backticks and like a code segment of like some command that it should run. And when you execute that, skill, it will go in and like replace those with whatever the output is of that command.
Oh, okay.
Which is like awesome, really. Like that's super interesting and could be very powerful. I've also seen that there could be some security holes around that because it'll just blindly
Yeah.
do whatever you want right there. But that's really cool. Like I have no use for this yet. Or I haven't updated any skills at least to use it, but I would like to think about it.
Yeah.
Curious if you have any thoughts or things that you might use.
I don't know. So I still I feel like I'm still in the Claude Code 101 phase because like how do I in this so we'll call this the Claude Code 101 section. I'm going to ask dumb questions every week and you'll get to answer them. Because this is, I could go Google this. Matter of fact, I could probably open Claude and ask it to tell me how to do this. But I'm going to ask you, Nick, because I enjoy getting the answer from you rather than those tools.
You're absolutely right.
How exactly? How every time it asks me if it can do these stupid commands, right? There's a way that I can tell it. You don't have to ask me about these commands ever again,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
There are some commands I don't think it'll allow you to do that though.
Yeah, kind of. Let me see.
Is this in your Claude config that you're gonna tell it which like what commands can it do?
Yeah, pretty much. I have it. Well, you can set that for sure. Like if you go into your settings.json file.
Yeah.
Am I? Oh, I'm not.
You forgot how to use the terminal and Vim.
I just don't use Vim anymore. I
know.
don't write code. But here, right in your Claude settings, you can say
Okay.
you always have access to do these. So you can always do an LS, for example, right?
Yep.
I still have it constantly ask me if it can do an LS on everything. And if it's trying to do something where it's like piping to something else, it's almost always going to ask you.
Yep. Those are the ones. So whenever I say yes and don't ask me again, that's really just for that session. It's not actually updating my settings.json, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes or yes?
It's not
updating. It's not updating.
It's no,
It's
but
only allowing it for. It's essentially in memory that it can do. Doesn't have to ask for that again.
yes, this file is in. This is my dot files home.clog.
Global. Yeah.
Yes, this is being symlinked into my into my home directory. But in projects, you can have a .clod.
Right.
And then in here, you can have a settings.json.
Yeah.
And this will get updated with it. So it's project specific overrides.
Okay. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's still Claude constantly seemingly treats it like a suggestion rather than yes.
Get it. They don't want, somebody getting mad.
Man, come on.
I do. Somebody's going to be like, yes, do that, do this. And then it's going to do something like that. The commands that I generally will never say yes and don't ask me again is whenever it's AWS and then something that it's doing. It's like, nope, I want to know what you're doing, because usually you're only reading, but you could be changing a config that I want to make sure I know what you're doing.
YOLO.
Yeah, I see that. So that one's just like, don't even bother asking me anything.
Yes. And I have aliased that now because I'm so lazy to just CC. Yep. CC is I think the C, what is it? Not C#, Objective-C compiler on Mac, I think. If I do /cc, that's Clang. Yeah. I never run Clang, so
CC compiler.
I aliased it to CC, and then I can do CC bang to do Claude with dangerously skip permissions. And then once it loads, which Claude is like the slowest to load, bypass permissions is on. It will still ask me for every freaking get command, and I'm very annoyed by that.
I mean, it's a destructive thing. Yeah, I get it. Like, they don't want to be like, destroy your repo.
I put the bang there. I assumed the risk.
All right, but you're not even going to use Claude anymore, so you're going to use something called Pi. What's going on there?
Yeah, slice of pie. So Pi is if you just go to pi.dev, or as I found out, shittycodingagents.ai. Shittycodingagent.ai. It is basically a Claude clone in a lot of ways. Like, it's an agent that you can run in your command line that can just do things. But of course, the beauty of it is it's not tied to just Claude. It's tied to any model that you want. And right now, probably shouldn't even jinx it right now, but let me just run it. Pi. Go. Hello. And I think log in. I should log in with Anthropic, which is something I can do. You can no longer do this in open code. So I feel like this is the days for this working in Pi are numbered. But now I have my Claude Max subscription in there. I added a bar here that shows my 5-hour and 7-day allotment, like in real time. And
the allotment from Claude or allotment from?
This is from my Claude Max subscription.
Yeah. Okay.
So this Pi thing it knows that I'm running with Claude Max right now, and so it put it in there. But if I switch the model to, I don't know, I don't even think I have open code or what is it? Codex? No, GPT. Yeah, I don't have anything else right now. I only have that. But it would turn that off because it knows that I'm not on that. And so I wouldn't see that in there. And that's one of the beautiful things of this. This bar was completely created by me. Well, by Pi. I told Pi to create it. But it's really, really simple. So Pi lets you in your home directories.py directory and agent, you can set up a whole bunch of things, including extensions. Anything that you put in here is something that will automatically be loaded. And so I have a status line one right here. And this just basically, like, if you go down to the bottom, it's just like effectively like Claude hooks, but they're written in TypeScript. Okay. And so you can say, like, on session start, you're going to set a footer and you're going to put that in there. And it's, the logic to show what I want to show in here.
Okay. Side question. that
Mm-hmm.
that status line that you have for 5-day allotments or 5-hour allotments, 7-day allotment. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Or your because that's essentially a max, uh, uh, Anthropic max account
Yep.
allotment. Can you do that in Claude Code?
Yeah, I have the same thing. It's
Okay.
actually the data is not coming from like Claude has this way to set a status line. I think
Yep.
if I go to my settings.md or settings.json for Claude, oh, not the one I just created, this one. And then you look for status line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it. It's a command and it should run Claude status line,
Yep.
which is um,
I
it's
think
in
the one you
here.
currently
It's a
have.
bash script.
Yeah, and it seems to show context and usage, money usage, not
Yes.
necessarily
The
that.
Pi one shows all of that too.
Okay.
Um, but if I run Claude here, it has the same. I'll do ping.
Oh, okay.
I changed it. If you were looking at my old one,
I was looking at your old one. All
yeah.
right, because obviously we both have different contexts. I think I probably use my personal context more than you use your personal context these days.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, I do still hands on keyboard stuff at the day job, but I'm using by hands on keyboard. I mean I run Claude against
Okay.
work oriented things. Um, yeah, so this would be more interesting for when I'm on my personal machine.
Yeah.
All right, so Pi.
Yeah. So when this is running, I'm just telling it to do something. It's saying not simply walking into Mordor there. That is also another extension. So this is how you configure it completely. This is called spinner verbs, just to completely copy Claude code. So it just randomly picks like one of these verbs and then shows it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And so yeah, on what is it? Pi.on turn start, show that message, and then turn it off. That's it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So pretty cool. That's how you configure Pi completely. And you can do other things like that's extensions. You can have themes. So I have a couple of themes in there right now. A Night Owl one and a Tokyo Night one. I also have a Capuchin one, but I didn't sync it over. And yeah, so you can just have everything configured. And right now I threw it into my dot files. But it gives you that functionality, right? You can just completely configure everything. You can customize it in any way that you want. And there's plugins to do everything. So if you find a feature in Claude that you want in here, like I just ask it to make it. So one example of that is this from Claude, right? This just shipped where you can have this dynamic skills thing. I want that. Can Pi do that? And so I just asked Pi. I like literally gave it a link to the tweet and I was like, hey, can you do this? And Pi was like, no, I don't support that, but I can do this. And it made a dynamic skills extension that basically just like in the buffer, like finds those and then runs the command and then replaces that and then passes it on. So it's like letting me get into the middle of that to expand those out and then go. So yeah, pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's cool.
It also like through plugins, you have like the ask user question so that it can do like, asking you different questions. You have what else? Like sub agents and agent teams, that type of thing.
Yeah.
That's all just configurable. And literally if it doesn't work, just ask Pi. The one thing I've learned so far is Pi is really good at understanding itself and what it can do and what it can't and how to extend itself. And so it's just been going crazy and I like it.
So I feel like we've gone back, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, Nick. And I'm meeting Nick. And at the time, Nick's like, oh God, I love this Vim thing. I gotta go tweak it and build all these, pull in the pieces I want and put all together, etc. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was in my ID going, why? Like I open this thing and it has what I need, right? So I'm feeling that a little bit here now, where I'm like, okay, but yeah, I just use Claude and it has all these things, and I don't need to go tell it to do this or build that or etc. So, what are the other benefits to this? I get that you can go and tweak it, and you can build out an extension, etc.
Hmm.
So, what's the other benefits here?
You can make it yours. It's like NeoVim.
Okay.
Pi is like NeoVim. Claude Code is like VS Code. It's more package built, and there are pros and cons to that for sure. And I'm like debating back and forth, like, do I want to invest in more in Pi? Because yes, I can do that, but like it's less than 10% of developers are using something like Pi. Right? It's probably like less than 1%, whereas like 90% are probably using Claude Code. And
Yeah.
it's not that it's difficult to switch in between them, but Claude is literally shipping new stuff every single day, and keeping up on it is already exhausting if I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
using
no,
it
I
every day.
completely, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Skid does have a great point. Pi doesn't ask for permission by default, so it's not going to hang on anything. That is one big feature. I like
Yeah.
asked it because like one thing in Claude is it has this you can do like an add dir, and I can tell it about a different directory to like
Yep.
go and now it has context for that, which is awesome. And I was like, oh, Pi, do you have an add dir? And it was like, no, I can just read anything.
I don't like,
So
yeah, it's like I just I've already looked at all of your files. I don't need permission.
yeah, exactly.
Um
No worries there.
okay. So I thought there was another piece that you were building on Pi, on top of Pi, because you have Case, and it
Yeah.
seems to use Pi, but I don't fully understand how it's using Pi.
Yes. Case is I think we've talked about Case before, and it
Yep.
was a Claude skill, and now it's a orchestrator built on top of Pi.
Yep. Okay.
Is the way that I've kind of done it. And I just realized I can't run it on this machine because it's very like hard coded to my work machine,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
need to fix that. But I did write up a blog post about it, like kind of the process I went through for building the harness and what it does and why I thought it was important. But one of the like pretty much like the coolest part of it is like it's tailor built to be like a developer experience engineer at WorkOS is kind of the way that I built it.
Yep.
And so like, what are the most common things that I do? How can I get it to do it instead and take me out of that so that I don't have to babysit it really, but I can still come in at the end and do like a full code review and all of that. And then
Right.
instead of like the whole like philosophy behind using a harness is like, you never work on the code. If it does something wrong, you make the harness fix itself. Yep. And then make it fix it. And so that's what I'm doing here with it. And so like I can do like, turns out I can't just call it case like as a CLI command because case is a reserved bash word.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. So I call it CA for case agent.
Okay.
And I can just say like CA1234, and that's like, oh, I'm going to look for a GitHub issue, issue 1234, and I'll review that, and then I'll go from there and plan around that.
Okay.
Usually works pretty well, assuming that the issue has enough context about what the problem is or whatever, or what the feature request is. That's not always the case though. So in those other cases, we've got other methods to like work around that. But like another one is like, oh, look for this linear ticket. We use linear, so I built it around that. Mm-hmm. And it'll do the same thing. Bring in the linear ticket and then go from there. And then for either of those, let's say that you give me a GitHub issue and it doesn't have a lot of context. I can do like CA and then 1234 and then -- agent. Okay. And what that'll do is it'll load everything about that into case, but then it'll start a local agent for me, which is just a Pi session like this. It looks just like this. And then I've got a way to talk to it. And so now we can go through planning together to ensure that it has enough context. And so that way, like, there's several times I just need it to do that. And I can work through it. And then once I like finish the planning with it, then case the orchestrator kicks in and goes off and does it. And it won't bother me again until there's a pull request to look at.
Okay. So so the other pieces that I read when I read the blog post, so you obviously do have some actual code in here to manage state, like what state the agent system is in,
Hmm.
and et cetera. Are those essentially Pi extensions, or is that a Pi extension? I guess no.
Nope. It's just generating it creates like a .case directory in your project. And then in there, it has like a task slug for whatever it's working on. And then it'll have a tasks.json that it's keeping track of and maintaining.
Okay.
And that's all like through the TypeScript orchestrator. It like knows, oh, we moved on to this stage. Now I need to mark that, the implementing stage is complete. Now we're in the review stage. And the whole idea behind that is, it can keep track of that. But if for some reason it dies, or like fails in some way, I can just run case again with the same arguments, and it will pick up where the tasks left off,
Right.
and continue on.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's still very much a work in progress, but it does like the biggest piece of it is like it really tries to prove what's happening. So like it won't be able to like this shell script won't be able to mark that it's run the tests until it's actually run the tests,
Yeah.
and not just like created like fake evidence. It has to like it cryptographically seals like what it means to run the tests, and knows that, which is really really nice. But then it like adds a bunch of evidence to the pull request itself. So if it's like a UI change, it'll add a video of it clicking around in the browser and showing that.
Mhm.
Or it'll show screenshots, and it'll provide me with like a detailed write-up of how to reproduce or how to test manually, and I can follow those steps. And that gives me a lot of confidence. If it's like telling me exactly how to reproduce something, or if it's showing me that evidence, it probably did the right thing. So like I can, that's not like an excuse to not then look at the code. Like I still look at the code, but it's like I feel comfortable investing the time that it's going to take me to look at this code now, because you have shown me that it's correct. Like it may not be like the best code at the time. We'll work through that, but it's good code. It's working code. It's functional. And so it's time for me to be the human in the loop and come in.
No, that makes sense. This is cool. Yeah. So again, this is still pretty tied to
me,
to your workflow, which at the end of the day, I get that almost all harnesses are going to be, but it's understanding how to abstract out that what's the abstraction of a harness that people can then build on top of.
For sure. Yeah. And I think that like it's pretty cool. Like yeah, it's definitely going to be tied to your project, and a majority of the work is going to be getting your project to be agent ready, I think.
No, that's the piece that made the most sense to me. Was these are not going to work in super greenfield projects where there's not a lot of context around what is the actual thing you're building, right? Because a lot of times you're building something and you realize, I should add this feature, because you're going through the early stages of that build process. But if you have a clear project and either you're doing bug fixes on it, or it's mature enough that defining what a feature is and how it would work with the rest of the things, then this makes a ton of sense. And it seems like you could go pretty far with it.
Yeah, for sure. And this is the blog post that I kind of followed for like figuring out how to do it. This was all, I think, started on a greenfield project at OpenAI.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah, it can work in that way. But another thing I wanted to show is like kind of a fun way to use tools like this. And that is, this is the case repo, which is public on GitHub. Where is it? Yeah, this was kind of just an experiment that I did where I basically like took all of these articles about harness engineering and I fed it to Claude, and we just talked through them. We're like, basically, are we doing things in a similar way? What are we doing differently? Are we doing things better or worse? And asked like a whole bunch of questions about all of these articles, and like just had Claude help me keep track of it all. And then we came up with like a prioritized plan for all of these improvements. And I think it ended up being, exactly 60 improvements that we could make to this. And this was before I like went off and turned it into a Pi, like an orchestrator on top of Pi. Um, but it added a ton of just super relevant stuff, and not just like, oh, these are the tasks, but like that's the ordered list of them, and then here's like details about what each of those tasks mean and where we learned it from, how we should go about thinking about it in our like use case.
Yeah.
And so like this was like a more creative expression of Claude, like being able to help me come up with what we should do.
Yeah. No, this makes sense. Yeah, the most of the work I've been doing this week on in the at Arbel has been just using Claude to really. Yes, I was making code changes, but the reality of it was is I was wanted it to tell me more about how does this code even work, right? It was a project that honestly is very poorly architected and it is extremely complicated and makes zero sense, right? But I don't, and I could probably tell Claude, hey, go just tear this apart and turn this ridiculous lambda slash calling an API and doing a callback and all this crap into a fast API, a Python fast API application and call it a day. But the problem is I don't actually know exactly what the app does, right? I don't know enough to comfortably go, yep, yes, it shows stuff on the screen, and so I assume it's done. So I've spent the week essentially, yeah. I mean, I essentially got all the pieces that all the different repos that were required to run this application, not necessarily directly run it, but are play a role in it. And then at a top level, I built a Claude, you know, put in a Claude file that said here's how I understand the pieces mapped together. And then the first thing I told it to do was I need you to tell me how this front end talks to this API, and that API is a lambda that talks to this API, and it uses this repo as a library, and I draw mermaid diagrams and stuff. So just built out a ton of documentation on here's how it works and here's etc. And and then went through etc. So at the very least, if companies, there's still obviously people have anxiety about it. Companies have less anxiety about AI more, and have some companies were probably uh, all in and just like, oh, we're going to do everything with AI. And some companies are probably like, I don't really trust. I don't know what I want to do. If they're not at the very least allowing their employees to use it in this manner, then they have problems, because it's like the best way to get somebody up to speed on a project
Mm-hmm.
is like, go use this tool so it can teach you how it works.
Yeah, that's like a thing too. Like create an applied AI team and just have them run circles around the rest of the company and show
Yeah.
the way, like lead the way. Yeah, for sure. I also think that if your company is experimenting with AI and you're not like shelling out for the best tools and really encouraging that kind of thing, like you're actively sabotaging. And that
Yeah,
could
yeah.
be like a malicious compliance type thing is like the immediate first thing that comes into my head. Like if you're going to be if you're going to spin up a team and be like, here's Claude 3.7 in Copilot, go
Yeah,
and tell me what you can do. And it's just like, well, this was an idiot. It can't do anything.
right.
Duh. Like, so yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's too common of a tale.
Yeah, we'll see. I I've been excited with the changes that have happened over the last, I would say, 2 months, like we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I would say since probably November through now, things have gotten more interesting and honestly more useful. Before it was interesting what it could do in certain areas. It wasn't as interesting in what it could do directly in what we were trying to solve. And then things, for companies who are use AWS and they're like, yeah, but I can't access our data and all that stuff. Man, Bedrock makes all the problems go away, in my opinion. And obviously, there's challenges with it, but at least in this case, you're operating in a manner where you're not exposing customer data, etc. Right? Like we've been working on a BI system for a while. It's there, it does what it's needed, but like within a couple of weeks, we were able to just with Bedrock having access to our company data and using a tool called an MCP server called DB Hub. You're essentially giving people natural language, access to ask about company data with a natural language, right?
Mhm.
And it'll go figure out how to write the SQL queries to get that. Now, is it given the exactly right data? That's still something that we got to go do evaluations on and stuff. But then you can give it, I would assume there's extension points where we can give it more direction on, hey, when you're asked this, this is the tool you should use or how you should get it. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's definitely gonna change things, and I can see why people get anxiety about it.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, feels inevitable. Like enjoy the ride, I guess,
Yeah.
while it's going.
Yeah, I have definitely it's made me more excited, and I have back to kind of having fun. I don't know if I hit a point in my career, a point in my own life where I just there's things I wanted to build and I'm like, yeah, but I don't really feel like spending the time to write the code for that. And now I can just be like, go do this. And nope, you did that a little bit wrong. Do it this way, and get a tool that I wanted done within a day, which is just amazing. So I'm super excited and I'm having a good time.
Yeah. Right. Like talk about that more because you talked. I don't remember if you talked about it last time, but like you were building an iOS app, and like just the barrier to entry to get into something like that is so low now, and it's honestly fun because it just takes away that minutia.
Yeah, what it doesn't take away is the minutia of dealing with Apple and the Apple Store and all that BS. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, the gist of it was my wife sends me social media links via iMessage, and while I love reading the stuff that my wife sends me, it can be annoying to hear Apple CarPlay read you 30 messages about URLs and emojis and tags on Instagram posts and stuff. Although AI has gotten better at summarizing it, but I had gotten to a point where when I was driving somewhere, and I drive a lot because I have to drive the kids around and stuff, I wouldn't read. I would be like, "Oh, Debbie sent something, but I'm not going to listen to that because I don't want to hear it do that." It could have been, "Hey, can you go pick this up?" or a message of importance, right?
Hmm.
So I asked Debbie. I was like, "Hey, if I wrote something to where when you go to share this, you can just instead of sending it to iMessage, there's a button there that you can be like, send it to this, and I'll get it and I'll read it. But then when you need to actually say something to me, you use iMessage." She's like, absolutely. So, spun up created a Elixir Phoenix backend for, to manage collecting links to Instagram and stuff. And the funny thing is I'm like, I just want the links. But when I told Claude to do this, it's like, oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna write a Oben job processing back in the background to go and like actually build, get a screenshot of what the Instagram article actually is and all this stuff. Did all that, and then for the iOS piece, I obviously need one. I need some way to allow it to um, access to the share sheet, right? At the end of the day, I need to be able to have her just say share, and then there's a button that she clicks, right? And that's what it is. So there's an iOS app component to it. It uses some web views to just show basic information. You log into the whole thing with your Apple ID, and then it exposes the I think they're called intents, etc. So that way you can go in. Once I got it installed on my wife's phone, in via test flight, I went in and set up the shortcuts. So essentially, what the shortcuts allow you to do is say, okay, I have this app. It exposes its intent, so you can easily build shortcuts. And here is this app share to this feed, and that's a shortcut. And now that shortcut is on the share sheet. So now when she goes to Instagram share, that shows up on the share sheet as a thing. It's just a send this to John, right? And John, a feed that I have shared with John, and then I go on my side. I can just log into the app, and there's a list of links that I've either read or haven't. It's tracks it, and then how I get my Instagram feeds now, because I don't personally use Instagram, but my wife sends me a bunch of Instagram posts. And now I can effectively listen to her iMessages while I'm in CarPlay and know that I'm gonna want to hear what it's. Not that I don't want to hear that she sent me an Instagram link, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and that's something I never would have spent any time building before, because I'm not that interested in building that app. But
yeah,
took me maybe a day on a weekend to get it all coded and done, and it took, I don't know, a week to get through the Apple bureaucracy and BS to just get it into test flight and approved, which was just insane to me. I mean, that's where I feel like people's jobs are gonna be type in the cloud how to get a Apple app approved and go through the steps, because it's fucking ridiculous.
The AI that can do that, the agent that can do that will be.
Yeah.
There we go. That's what we're gonna build.
It's also, they're gonna get overwhelmed with the amount of people building out that type of stuff. And then I think the other things that are going to become super important are the desktop wrapper apps like Tari, etc. Because one way that we've solved the problem at Arbol, which I think is going to be a huge problem, which is, hey, non-engineer, I vibe coded this app, I need to deploy it. Okay, why do you need to deploy it? Does it even need to be deployed? Do you just need to deploy it because you want to be able to run it? So one of our engineers was like, all right, this is not this doesn't have to be a web app. This is not something that literally needs to live on a web server. You wrote it in web tools, but it doesn't need to be anywhere. Here's a Tari wrapper around it, and now you can run it on your desktop. And they're most of the times they're like, oh yeah, this is great. So that might be one way to solve the flood of, hey, I wrote this amazing new thing and it needs to be out there, requests that are going to happen. And I have to assume that Apple's getting a ton of that now, which is, I vibe coded this super duper iOS app that I'm going to sell to people for 99 cents. I need it out there now. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Well, I can't wait to get on that test flight, because I'm just going to start slamming you with Instagram reels.
All right. I was going to ask if you wanted to be. I'll send you a link, and you can tell me if you want me to send Olivia one. So that way she can set up a feed. It's very there's no bells and whistles. It's literally, if you want to be my friend, sure, we'll be friends. I'll set up a feed. You can add multiple people to it, or you can literally just add one person to it, and then that's who has access.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I encourage all of you listening to send John Instagram reels as well.
No thanks.
Yeah, that's really cool. I just love that we're in this era, where we can. It's so easy to experiment, and we can close on this. But there's I can't remember if it was a blog post or a podcast or a discussion that I saw. When it was talking about how Anthropic builds products, and specifically talking about Cowork, right? Cowork, and it's such an interesting shift in how we do it, because they built that in less than 10 days.
Yeah.
And famously, JavaScript was written in 10 days. So now it's we're going to build Cowork in 10 days. That's where we're at now. But when they set off to build it, it's not like they had a ton of planning meetings. And I'm sorry if I'm filling in fiction here, but this is my understanding. And it makes sense to me. But instead of having a ton of planning meetings about what we should build, it's cheaper and more effective to just set out Claude to build all possibilities and then narrow it down to exactly what we need. And so you can build 10 things and kill 9 of them. And that is cheaper than all the meetings it would take to get to the same place with the traditional software life cycle.
maybe this is something we can talk about in the future. I don't want to prolong it here, but you use the word cheaper. I would use
Right
the word
now.
faster because I
Yeah.
definitely don't think it was cheaper. I think it was faster. You could absolutely do that more quickly in the sense of go build these 10 things. We'll figure out. We'll take the pieces of all of from the best from all of it and figure out what the actual product is.
Hmm.
Absolutely, you can do that with cloud right now. Right now, I think it's pretty cheap for us to do that because of the costs that OpenAI and Anthropic and all them, they're essentially losing money by the truckload fulls. So this is where AI is going to again, is AI going to take over everything and et cetera? I don't know, right? Because if they can't figure out how to do this in a manner where they're not just losing a ton of money, that the only way they don't lose a ton of money is they start charging all these companies that are using them the actual cost of what it would cost to deliver that, and then you find out, well, oh wait, no, I don't actually want to spend that amount of money, right?
Hmm.
I personally only spend $100 a month on it right now. I could possibly be convinced to move up to the 200 if I ever ran out of credits. At the
Hmm.
moment, I get enough credits to where I'm able to do what I want, right? I could be convinced to move up to $200. I don't know how much further I would go right now personally, right? And I don't know how far a company, our company would go to where it's like, I don't know. I think maybe all the stuff we talked about, which is maybe superfluous stuff just happening because AI can do it. I don't know how much of that goes away to where yes, AI is part of the picture, but you are attacking your most important problems with
Hmm.
AI, and you're not replacing all your SaaS tools with AI because you can. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
now the economics do not make sense for you to do that because you're paying an arm and a leg to actually get those credits. Now,
Yeah.
the other side of that is, hey, they figure out how to make this less, more energy efficient and cost less money and less compute, et cetera, to where they can deliver it at a price to where that does make sense. So we'll see. But
We'll see for sure. But like also, a product like that, and I think increasingly a lot of products right now, if it takes you more than 10 days, like it's not worth building because it's too late.
oh
It,
yeah, no, complete yes. Yeah, like right now we're in the age of do whatever and let's see what happens.
mhm.
We'll see, if they can, if the cost can come down and these companies can figure out how to make money and not charge an arm and a leg to the companies that are using it, then I think this will keep going and it will be very disruptive and, you know, change a ton of things. But I think there's still a lot of open questions that none of the large CEOs of any of these companies and none of the large CEOs of like Jack Dorsey, et cetera, are going to be like, they're all going to be like, yeah, this is changing everything. It's an excuse for me to make decisions, whatever decision I want right now, and say
Yep.
because AI. So,
Well, on
cool.
that note, I hope you have a good weekend because of AI,
Yeah.
and I'll talk to you next week.
Later, man.
See ya.